Hi everybody. It's been a while. I know I haven't come to reading the material that I've said that I was going to read. I need to get organized, I guess, um, with prioritizing my schedule. What needs to be done for my day, um, and still try to be a part of the other things that my heart desires to be a part of. I've mentioned that I'm in the uh, academy, where we come together and we study the word together. I think I had said the website wrong, even the first the first recording that I placed before you guys, coming back into wanting to um, bring my best effort to ministry, of trying to teach my understandings, or how I'm understanding the word, um, before you all, which I'll try to get to putting the books, the titles of the books, and the academy that I'm with, where we come together, we learn as a family, being under Messiah, we're all brethren, and we study with one another. I'll go and put that in the first video that I put back out there before Father with you all on YouTube. So you can go back to the first video that I placed out there. If not, I might put the Academy's website also under this video as well, because I think I said it, shared it wrong. But anyways, I wanted to come and start reading the Nelson's complete book of Bible maps and charts. Like I said, I want us to, well, me, because like I said, it's gonna kind of feel one-sided of my study, but I'm hoping that you come along to study alongside me, with the materials, if you have the same materials as me, or if you're looking to purchase the same materials, and therefore you have uh, kind of like a lively commentator before you. I don't really see myself yet. I know I'm being encouraged to step out and see myself as a teacher, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable in that, especially when I'm around uh, the elder ministers out there, that they just know how to do it. And I know with anything, it comes with practice, and it comes with time, and maybe as I study, or as I'm studying, maybe it'll seem like a teacher kind of thing, um, from what we see spoken, that Father has given pastors and ministers and evangelists and teachers. I have yet to really feel comfortable in claiming any type of title to myself, but I am a servant, and that I do feel comfortable um, announcing over myself, because we are to serve our Father, Father Yehovah. Like I said, we'll get to knowing where it states his name, where's, how I've come to understand that the Bibles that we all have today were lots of translations and transliterations, and therefore a lot of things got taken out, and added, and the name, in a sense, uh, Father has, an enemy out there, where him and his children have tried to block a lot of what we should know for today, in how to be heavenly, heaven citizens, and doing things unto our King, which is Father, our creator that has created all of us on how to be. So we don't, there was a lot of things that were blocked from us knowing him. For a long time, I just called him God or Lord because, not because I had a relationship and connection to reading his word yet, just from what I, gathered from going to the denominations that I was a part of as a child, and then going into another denomination as I got older. I went from this one faith to another, which I'll speak more on as I get into more of what I'm wanting to express over what Father has pulled me away from as I read His Word, and how all these things started to unfold before my eyes. So I only knew him by, like I said, God and Lord, and even Yeshua, who is Jesus, in the English translation that we have. Even that, I only knew him as, Jesus. And then as I grew and started listening to more ministers out there and stepping out and questioning things, seeing that I had a right to take my time to understand the word for my own sake, um, and not just take what was given. All the more, Father just started showing me Him, you know, by His own doing, not because I was just giving ear to ministers that have these titles and only want you to come under them and know only so much by them, and um, in a sense, reverence only their sayings and what they would have you to be as a servant, um, by what they want. But anyways, let's get into it. I tried my best I was gonna have, like I said, I wanted to, on the corner, I wanted to have like slides. So this way, as I spoke, I could try to read from the screen, and this way you have more face to face encounter by me reading the material alongside with you, so you can read it as it was posted up. Because I wanted to be there for those that possibly can't afford books at the moment, and therefore they can just follow along on my screen. But for whatever reason, the PowerPoint, um, the whatever the program it is, I don't know all the terminology, but the place where I was going to do PowerPoints, it was working against me. I would post. I had everything lined up to where the picture was really clearly seen, but as I kept adding more and more pictures to be, placed as a PowerPoint for you guys to follow along with me, um, the previous one, like say if I went 7 slides in, I started losing. If I went back to check how everything was looking from, page 1, page 2, they were gone, showing me like I would have to replace the picture. And so I don't know what was happening, but I really was trying my best to make something happen with the side, for everybody to follow along. So as I read, I hope I don't lose much attention, because I know it can be like feeling like a documentary, kind of like some of those not so interesting documentaries that you find yourself falling asleep. And I'm trying not to be one of those like boring readers, as you know some can just be. I call them. It goes off by that commercial, the clear eye guy, that like very. I don't know how to depict his voice, but that kind of like, uh, how would you say it? Um, just boring sound, I guess. anyways, I'm hoping I don't come off like that, because I know most of my FaceTime is not going to be looking at the camera. It's going to be more into my book, so that way I can get on to reading before you all, and just you seeing how I um, what I think, as I'm processing, trying to process all this material, because I'm not, um, I don't feel savvy in a lot of areas, so I'm really just coming in as a student, in a sense, before Father Yehovah, and trying to understand all this material from, writers themselves, and what stood out, and how they are trying to show me the understanding of history, and you know to be honest, even going back in school and seeing where the subjects that were not my favorite is kind of the irony, where now it's a lot of it's the subject at hand, of trying to understand Father's um, ways, and his kingdom. It's amazing. I find that kind of funny, because history was never my thing, geography was never my thing, and here I am trying my best to understand the history of the past, where Father started, and how he communicates and exists even as of today. Um, so let's get started. Okay. Not that we really need to go over the table of contents, but like I said, if you just get a full grasp of the understandings of what to look at the books when we finally dive into the Bible itself, because um, this kind of helps to understand what books were under, what type of understanding to them. So it makes it a lot more easier when we get to them. So we have the Pentateuch, which is the law of Father, all his commandments, and how it started, with him, um, and what he asks of us to be, what he told his followers back then of how they were um, to be. So we have that. The Pentateuch, which consists of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Then we have historical books, and the historical books contain Joshua, Judges, Ruth, First and Second Samuel, First and Second Kings, First and Second Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. So there we see the history of what happened to the followers during those times. Um, then we have wisdom literature, um, that that contains Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon. Lots of awesome wisdom in those. Then we have the prophetic books, things that were foretold that have came to pass, and things that have yet to come to pass, but nonetheless they're still foretold. And we have Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, um, Zechariah, Malachi. And one thing I'll put out there is not, I don't read Greek and Hebrew and all that, so there's going to be a lot of words that those that probably do know how to speak the language might giggle at my pronunciations of them, but I'm trying, and I'm sorry if those that are really um, really knowledgeable in the languages that if I'm speaking things in error by the pronunciations, but I am trying my best. And then we also have within the contents, it's called intertestament intertestamental time period, and having a look at that because I didn't really understand what that was, and it's something like bridging the two testaments. That's what it was talking about. I guess I look at it as like that um, one sliver of paper that you know is right in the same area of the Old Testament and the New Testament. I look at as that kind of little material, but we'll get to that when we get there. Then we have the New Testament, and that consists of the four Gospels, and that one has Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then Acts is something under that. I think because it just has all the actions of what was taking place. Then we have the epistles of Paul, and the epistles means his letters. They are not books; they were letters to his followers. And we have his letter to the Romans, his letter to the Corinthians. We have First and Second Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, First and Second Thessalonians, First and Second Timothy, Titus, and Philemon. And like I said, those are letters. Then we have the general epistles, more letters, and we have the Hebrews, James, First Peter, Second Peter, First John, Second and Third John, and Jude. And then lastly, we have Revelation, which was written by John. And so that covers all of what the Bible entails, what we have of, these modern Bibles. Of course, if we were to go into older materials, you would see other sourced books within the Bibles there. I don't know if I'll ever get to those. I'm hoping to. There's just so much material out there to where do you start, where you don't start. But even if I do, at least we have an understanding of the places and the dated charts, the dates to the materials when when everything took place. We have a vision of the past. Okay, so the introduction. Let's see what the writer that put this all together, has to say on how to look at the Bible's maps and charts, to get us started. So the introduction. Welcome to Nelson's Complete Book of Bible Maps and Charts, 3rd edition. We hope that by compiling into one book the maps and study charts used in many of Nelson's Bibles and reference books, we will be providing every Christian with an essential tool which can enhance the study of God's Word. Designed to be easy to use and quickly referenced. Nelson's Complete Bible of Bible Maps and Charts, 3rd edition, offers a visual overview of the geography, politics, and thematic issues of Scripture. The maps and charts follow the order of the books of the Bible and are placed in conjunction with short passages of text that give per- pertinent historical or thematic background explanations. The charts are often a summary of events or themes in the Bible, allowing the reader to get a quick grasp of a subject before or after reading the Bible passage. Sorry, sometimes it takes me a minute to keep going because I have to really grasp the full full sentence sometimes. There's something that I asked my husband so that way I can get some clarity if I said it right or wrong. And I know earlier when I went through the contents, the table of contents, I asked him if the Pentateuch meant the law. Because, like I said, I'm not too savvy on a lot, and there's a lot of things I always have to ask my husband on repeat because um, it's just like I said, it's so much to retain of the word, and my husband's really knowledgeable where he can absorb so much, soak in so much, and he just knows, he's good. And plus, it benefits in the fact that he's always liked history. He's always been a history buff, geography and all that. That was something that was his favorite subject in school. Mine was not. Mine was math and English and stuff like that. But uh, so well, I guess we balance each other out. So when it came down to telling you guys about the Pentateuch, I took it as the law that's what it meant, the law. But he says that all that means is the 5 books. But those 5 books, regardless, that was spoken by Father to Moses, um, these were still Father's laws. So it's not like I'm not trying to not say I was not wrong, but I was. But the, the word Pentateuch is not meaning law. It means the 5 books. And then I asked my husband before I got back on, what would that sound be like, where you're just one sound the whole way through, so that way I'm not boring. But he was saying like monotone. So I really hope that as I'm reading and not having so much FaceTime, like I said, I wish I would have had the slides up for you all. I did try my best. Even my husband tried to help me, and I think he said that he's still going to try to show me or try something to where that can still be a possibility. So this way, when I come back to reading from this book, I should have some slides. That way, you guys can follow along if you don't have the material, and even if you do have the material, but at least it's there. So back to it. I'll start back at at a glance. Okay, so the at a glance charts. Okay, so everything's dealing with, like I said, it's all on charts and maps to show us, to help us, to enhance our understanding as we're reading through the Bible itself. Our modern Bibles today, though, what's beautiful about them is that a lot of them now consist a lot of the charts and maps in there. So this way, you really don't have to have necessarily this amazing book by Nelson. Not to say that it's not great to have also on the side. There's additional information. Of course, you can't put everything in uh, a Bible, which would probably be like this big with so much information if you just clustered everything at once. But what's nice about the modern Bibles today is that there is a lot more like those enhancers of charts, um, dates, and maps to let you know where these events happened. Okay, so the at a glance charts, for instance, present a summary of each book. Okay, so we'll be able to see all that. It gives us a better understanding. Showing the focus and topics discussed. The location and time of the events, and gives the text references for each division. The maps detailing Paul's missionary journeys show the incredible distance this remarkable man traveled in order to spread the gospel and ministry to the faithful. Charts can also help the reader understand themes and extend over several books, link seemingly unrelated elements of the text, or summarize extra-biblical ideas about the text. Temptation, the two Adams contrasted, for instance, shows the different ways that Adam and Messiah Yeshua, Jesus Christ, handled temptation. Okay, so we have that type of contrast from what the first Adam did, the first creation of man, to then when Yeshua came on the scene and what we can see how he handled temptation. While New Testament women gives references for the actions of some of the most outstanding characters of the New Testament. Three synoptic gospel source theories visually demonstrates three of the theories, which explain the literary similarities of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Biblical maps and charts can be helpful not only to the reader, but to the teacher as well. Anyone who has struggled with conveying the meaning or history behind a biblical passage knows how useful a visual aid can be. For this reason, many of the charts and maps in this book are on individual pages for easy copying. You are invited to copy those pages as visual aids for your personal use or for use by study groups. And that's what I like about this book that was given by Nelson, to that we are able to make copies of his pages and use them, in our study groups, our study times. That's why I was hoping that it would have been successful for me to have it here as a slideshow for all of you to follow along, because of his permission given uh, to use his material, to benefit from it, because that's what we're supposed to do. The kingdom family takes care of each other and helps each other to provoke each other into good works, or to help enhance each other in growth, because all of us connected, if all of us are knowing in part, I think that's said by Paul, where we all know in part, but when we all come together as one big, happy family, connecting as body parts, as he also uses an example to us, we all help each other to understand the full picture with one another. And so that's what I was hoping to do, because it said it here that we had that, that permission. All of the maps and charts are also available for free downloading at www.thomasnelson.com. slash maps and charts. Nelson.com, yeah, I think I said that. Intended for use in the classroom or seminary, such copies make excellent handouts or can be easily projected onto a screen. And there we have it. Oh, it would have been on screen, hopefully. That it'll still come to pass. Nelson's Complete Book of Bible Maps and Charts, 3rd edition, is not intended as a reference book just for the shelf. It is intended to be a supplement to other curriculum material for the classroom, seminary, or sermon. We hope it will prove to be so beneficial that it will become a standard resource for your personal or group Bible study. And that takes care of the introduction of what we should be seeing as we read throughout this awesome enhancer, Bible enhancer. Okay, the Old Testament. And here, I don't know if you guys can see it. Like I said, I wish I had the slide, but here we have a chart already. And it says the Old Testament overview. So in person, the heading of each section would be person, period and events, contemporary culture, and then the Old Testament book written. Okay, so where it would be found, that person would be found. Okay, so in the first strip, it would be Adam, the period and event of it before the patriarchs were existed, creation and the flood, then the contemporary culture, prehistorical era, and then under Old Testament books written, it's blank. Then under persons again, we're gonna see Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. The period and events of that would be the patriarchs, and then Abraham enters the land. C 2090 BC. What C signifies, I haven't the slightest clue. Joseph, Prime Minister. We see that in C of 1885 to 1805. And then we have under contemporary culture of that time, patriarchal narratives reflect culture of Mesopotamia and Egypt. And then under Old Testament books written, and it has Job as question mark. Under persons, this one is blank, but there is in periods and events Egyptian sojourn. That's from c. 1875 to 1445. The contemporary culture, Egypt enslaves the Israelites. And then we have the Old Testament books written, which is blank. Then under persons again, we'll be getting towards Moses. And then we have the period and event would be the wilderness and the wandering. The wilderness wandering, and that took place in c. 1445 to 1405. The contemporary culture, that's blank. And then the Old Testament books written, where Moses can be found, is in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The next people we will be coming to is Joshua, Deborah, Gideon, Jephthah, and Samson. And then the periods and events are on conquest and judges, and that is between c. 1405 to 1050. Then we have contemporary culture, would be Palestine occupied, various nations oppress Israel. And then the Old Testament books written, we can see that within Joshua and Judges. Persons, the next people we'll get to are Samuel and Saul, David and Solomon. And period of events, United monarchy, established 1050. And then contemporary cultures would be surrounding nations defeated by Israel. Old Testament books written, we'll see them in Ruth, Samuel, Psalms, Song of Solomon, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. And then there is the divided monarchy, which happens between 931 to 722, divided 931. We have in the division, we have the south Rehoboam, and then we have north Jeroboam 1. And then in the contemporary culture, for those would be Armenian kingdom, and that is between 931 to 732. And then for Old Testament books written, it is blank. And then we have under the south of Rehoboam, we'll see Jehoshaphat, and then Uzziah. And then under the north, after Jeroboam 1 would be Ahab and Jeroboam 2. And then contemporary cultures is blank. And then the Old Testament books written will be in Obadiah, Joel, Jonah, Amos, Hosea, Isaiah, and Micah. Under persons, again, for the south would be Hezekiah, and then under the north, it's blank, so I guess it's those ones still carried on. Ahab and Jeroboam 2 is all I can assume. And then under contemporary culture, we have the fall of Aram in c. 732, Assyrian domination of Palestine. That takes place from 745 to 650. And then the Old Testament book written would be in Nahum and Zephaniah. And then we have fall of Samaria, which takes place in c. 722. Then under the south, we still have Josiah now. And then under the north, we have Judah alone, and that takes place between 722 to 586. Under contemporary culture, that is blank. Old Testament books written, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Habakkuk, Kings, Daniel, and Ezekiel. Then we have under periods and events, persons is blank. So I'm thinking Josiah reigned a lot more longer in these ones. But the period and events is under Daniel's captivity, Ezekiel's captivity, and then the rest are blank for contemporary cultures and Old Testament books written. Then we'll go on to Jeremiah, and the period of event with that will be the fall of Jerusalem, c. 586. Then contemporary cultures will be Babylonian supremacy from 625 to 539. And then the Old Testament books written would be Haggai, Zechariah. Then under persons, we'll see Zerubbabel, Haggai, Zechariah, and the periods of and events will be restoration, 538 to C through C 400, and that will be the Second Temple. Then you have contemporary culture, which will be Medo-Persian rule, and that'll be from 539 to 331. The Old Testament books written, it is blank. Then under the persons again, it is blank, but period and events, it is Ezra return, C 458, Ezra's return, and the contemporary culture is blank, but the Old Testament book written is in Chronicles, Ezra, and Esther. Then under persons we have Malachi, and under periods and events we have Nehemiah, Nehemiah's return in C 444. And then contemporary culture is blank. Then Old Testament books written is under Nehemiah, Nehemiah or Nehemiah. I don't know which one to always go with, but Nehemiah, and then Malachi. So that is a lot of or the starting point of charts, and what where these people that we're going to be reading about came to these times of periods and events, you know, and the culture of what it was like, and more or less where we will, you know, read about them in the Old Testament books. So I know it's a lot. It's very wordy at the moment. So much history to try to just take in. But I don't want to take up too long and just keep reading. I want to take a break because, like I said, there's a lot to take in when trying to understand the history side of it that can sometimes be a little bit challenging for those that, especially like me, when I'm always talking about myself, okay? When it comes down to history, it's not always understood. I'm always having to really take my time with understanding these pieces and trying to go and check out, you know, the map or go and ask questions because I'm not really understanding what it's really saying. Just try to get into the word itself and look at the people, not necessarily have I paid attention to like the culture or where they come from. I more or less, the way I process is like, okay, I know the name, I see the name. What did he do? You know, Father chose him to do something, and what were the goods and the bads of what that person had done over the time, and learn from them. So that's why I can always stay right in Father's good graces in this lifetime. So not always looking at culture and stuff like that for the importance of it, but it all matters, and that's where I'm trying to learn learn it in front of you all. But I hope that you all will stick with me. We'll get through it, and I hope to share, you know, this journey with you as you yourself are trying to study it as well. So I just hope you all be blessed, and may Father help us grow in Him to understand these things. So shalom to you all, and Father and Yeshua be with you. You know, I didn't even pray in the beginning, which I've been trying to get better at trying to do that. Invite Father in and and end with prayer with him. So I do apologize. I always want to try to like lift up my best efforts before him, you know, so this way he does take over and he calms me down, because it is kind of a challenge for me to put myself out there and try to teach the nations, which, like I said, at this point, I'm not really looking as me like coming to teaching you. I'm trying to teach myself in front of you while having you as possibly, hopefully, as a study buddy on the side, helping you as you're also trying to navigate it yourself. But I do, now that it came to me, I do want to close this in prayer. So, Father Yehovah, I come before you, giving you praise and thanks today in this journey that we're taking with you. I'm sorry that I have yet to be very organized at making a good, time schedule with coming and reading this. I I just need to get to it, Father. I know that I just need to do it, especially if I don't want to lose what I just spoken, and then have to try to retrack of what was said in the previous video. So I hope I can get, consistent with myself to bringing this forward. So this way, those that are taking this journey with me also don't get confused or lost along the way with my habits of starting and stopping for so long and then starting all over again. I just want to get better at that. But help us, Father, help me as I am trying my best to understand history and geography and what everything, you know, involved you, with the people that you had chosen. And now us having that opportunity ourselves, so we can keep putting your word into our lives. Be with your people, Father. In Yeshua's name, we love you. Amen. Okay. Well, thank you, and I'll see you guys soon. Love you all.